We begin our third segment with this question. How big a deal is the surprise defeat of Representative Eric Cantor, the House Majority Leader? Let's take a look, and we're going to talk this one out. We're not going to go to a story. We're going to talk this one out because there's a lot to talk about right now. Now, Dee Dee, you are our Republican face right here. We heard from, of course, Chris Christie, who said, hey, this isn't a big deal. So,
actually, my perspective is a better deal. I mean, look, I feel bad for Cantor in a way, but he failed. I mean, I'm sorry, at a bad pollster. He didn't go back to his home base, and he lost badly. Well, the silver lining is that we get Kevin McCarthy, probably. Do you know Kevin?
Well, I know that you love him personally. We've never talked about why, but I know that you love him.
Because it was the McCarthy-Benkie administration and Young Republicans. I've known him forever.
Really?
He is a rock star. He'll be better than Cantor. So immediately when I heard this, I'm like, well, hey, we're going to be better off. Because he's like that Reagan-Kennedy thing. You'll see. But now he's got opposition, so hopefully that'll happen because Kevin's way better than Eric Cantor, way better.
We also want to introduce in our Washington, D.C. studio is Faris Gabor. He's the author of Becoming American, Why Immigration is Good for Our Nation's Future. And I'm sure you just heard us there, and thank you for joining us on this show today. How big of a defeat was this for the Republican Party in your opinion?
Well, Mia, I think this is really quite disastrous for the Republican Party because what has happened is it's basically scared everybody away from trying to cope with immigration. And that's going to have a significant impact on our economy, and it's going to be very difficult. And the way it is Obama is likely not going to do anything, as President Obama is going to delay everything. A critical issue, which is trying to deal with immigration, is just going to be postponed for quite a while.
Well, immigration is certainly one of the reasons why Cantor did not get reelected, but he did spend, here's a couple of numbers, he spent 50 times more than David Brat, who had a campaign of about $100,000 with these there's one of those videos that he made, these homemade YouTube videos, which makes you wonder, do you have to spend all that money anymore?
Yes, you do.
Can't just spend more money on steak. I know you all know that. It's hilarious.
You do have to spend that money, but I think you hit it on the nail here when you said that Cantor was removed and aloof from his constituency. That's one of the things you cannot do. You cannot be aloof. What this defeat does do, however, is it brings out in the open the internal civil war in the Republican Party. So I think it will have a huge political impact. I'm not sure it will have that huge a political impact going into the midterm elections because those elections will be largely decided by gerrymandering. But the impact could be significant with the presidential elections. This internal civil war will fester and will create basic, serious problems for the Republican Party.
And it certainly was a historic, I mean, he was the second most powerful Republican to not win, certainly made history. And what kind of message do you think this is going to send to Wall Street and to the Republican Party? I'll start with you, Dr. Mckoy, on that.
You know, I think the message it'll send to Wall Street, I think, is the most interesting because it really shows there's an opening there in the Republican Party for a more populist candidate, and they really need that. Having said that, I strongly agree with Dr. Sanders, we're now in agreement on this issue, that I think this is going to reverberate in the Republican primary because, again, the Republicans have tripled down on an anti-immigration position, and it's just going to alienate a strong base that they're going to need in this upcoming presidential election. I'm looking at 2016 and I'm thinking, what constituency will the Republicans win that they didn't win in 2012? And one where they might, well, actually they really don't have a shot, but if they had a shot with the growing Latino community, they've decided we really, really want to blow it. And so I think let's just get ready for President Clinton, who's going to take over a divided,
well, I'm glad you're the great Karnak. And you're a soothsayer.
When we're sitting here in the second week of November 2016, we can think, you know,
well, you're going to come back on the show.
You didn't see Christie dance, did you? Let me tell you what.
I have to admit, I predicted a while ago that Christie was done, and he's kind of proving me wrong, but I think this is showing he's not going to make it through a Republican primary.
He's not going to go down easily.
He's not going to make it through a Republican primary.
I do want to check in with Dr.
I think Cantor is a perfect storm of bad candidate, bad timing, anti-incumbency, a lot of things, but also he was wrong on the issues in the Republican Party, and so is Chris Christie.
Well, I do want to talk about that and ask Dr. Kadar as well. Do you think Cantor lost because of immigration reform? He certainly supported President Obama on that.
He did, but the gentleman before mentioned about the Hispanic. In fact, the polls show that if immigration fails, 3-1, the Hispanic community will blame the Republican Party.
Right.
So that just puts numbers behind what was said. And while it's a number of factors, I mean, Cantor was aloof, etc., but the main point that his opposition basically brought about was the immigration. And many people and the pollsters afterwards are basically saying immigration was the issue. Now, immigration was not an issue in South Carolina because what basically Senator Graham said that he wants immigration reform rather than amnesty. So how you position it is going to be critical.
Right.
Well, the question is, do you think that immigration reform will get passed then?
No. No.
Well, my worry is that immigration reform will be pushed to the House by Obama during the summer, and then at the end of the summer, if he's going to do something, and if he doesn't do anything, it's going to backfire on everybody, but if he does something, then they will come out smelling like roses if they do something effective. But I don't think anything is going to be done, really, until the election of 2016 or even afterwards.
Dr. Kadar, author of Becoming American.
Which is a real negative impact on our economy.
And I want to ask the panelists as well. I think that we might all agree on this. Do you think immigration reform is going to get passed?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Dr. Sanders?
No, I don't think so, because I think the hardliners in the House will make sure that it doesn't go anywhere.
What do you think, Dr. Mckoy?
No, I don't think it's going to get passed. I don't think the Republican conference wants it. And honestly, the Democratic caucus, they cannot pass it and have a very easy scapegoat in the Republicans do it, so they have little incentive to even push that hard
McCarthy
forward.
will change a lot. Don't count him out.
McCarthy is for legal status.
That's right.
But if he can carry his conference along with him, he will be like,
Rock
time
star.
management.
Don't you think
be
a
surprised.
lot of politicians are going to walk away from this after this incident with Cantor?
I mean, the whole Tea Party caucus has announced, Raul Labrador announced that immigration reform is dead. If Kevin McCarthy can resuscitate it, that would be a
I'm
political
just saying,
thing I
never
wouldn't
say
follow.
never when Kevin's involved.
What will be
We'll see.
interesting to watch will not be what happens in the House. Nothing is going to happen in the House because the hardliners are in control. What will be interesting to watch is what the prospective Republican presidential candidates will say about it.
True.
That will be the most interesting part of this debate. Will they fudge? Will they make a program proposal? That will be the interesting thing to watch. But in the House, nothing will happen.
And against it. He screwed up because he looked like a liar. He looked like it was a toss-up. He just totally screwed this up.
And so
he ended up awful.
So, Alan, going from what you said, not only will it be interesting what they say, it'll be interesting to see how Republican
But in the
voters
general
respond.
election,
Hang on there, Dr. Kadar. We'll get to you in one
the
second.
majority of the Americans are supporting some kind. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get to you in one second there, Dr. Kadar. But we do want to talk about Boehner. Is he going to continue as House Speaker? Yes?
I hope not. I want Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. I wanted Kevin McCarthy to be Speaker last January, so hopefully he'll be out. Time for a change.
I think he'll probably stay. The Republicans need some stability, and he represents stability, and so I think stability will probably win to try to keep the lid on this internal civil war within the Republicans.
And then just, we talked about why Cantor lost and it was defeated, but what can we take away and what can we learn moving forward from his defeat? Very quickly, Dr. McCoy?
Stay in touch with your district.
Stay in touch with your district and aim for the center of your electorate, which he did not do.
Don't spend so much money on steaks, and don't hire McLaughlin as a pollster, for goodness sake.
All right, Dr. Kadar, we're going to weigh in with you. If you can just tell us, what did you learn from this Cantor defeat?
Well, I completely agree that you have to stay in touch with your district and stay in the middle, because really, if you look at the majority of the Americans, some 60 to 62% want some kind of path to immigration reform and naturalization. So if immigration is an issue, staying in the middle and listening to your constituency is the way to move.
Dr. Kadar, thank you again, author of Becoming American, Why Immigration is Good for Our Nation's Future. And we also want to introduce you to a little portion of our segment, They Said What? These are some of the political blunders that we just kind of shook our head this week. We're going to start off with Hillary Clinton. We were flat broke after we left the White House. Dee Dee,
Oh my gosh, that was a huge
I figured you might have fun with that
No,
one.
I think she'd probably been thinking, oh, why did I say that? It was really bad because you know what? You live like a rock star when you're in the White House. You have anything and everything. You don't even have to make any money, and you're good.
Well, the other question was, is she trying to raise a little awareness for her new book by saying something that's a little controversial,
I think I'm
or
done.
was this just one big
It was a
blunder?
blunder.
Dr. Saunders.
Well, she probably did feel broke, and so it probably was an honest blooper.
But they
Well, they had a lot
It
of
might
houses.
be, but they
had
probably
no deal.
felt that way.
I honestly feel like this was the same thing that happened with Bob McDonnell, the former governor of Virginia, where you're hanging out with multi-billionaires, and so I'm hanging out with multi-billionaires, and all I have is $1 million. I feel broke. I think she actually meant that. I really think she did. You know.
All right, we've got one more. What about Texas Governor Rick Perry comparing homosexuality to alcoholism? Dr. Mckoy, start with you.
You know, I actually saw the headlines for the quote, but never read it because I was like, with Rick Perry, I just don't even want to hear things he has to say. But I'm sure he meant it when he said it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've always wondered what planet Governor of Texas was operating on, and I guess this is yet another example that raises the question.
Dee
I
Dee?
think he might have been drunk when he said it. I'm just saying.
All right. The three of us are going to come, or the four of us are going to come back. Dr. Kadar, we thank you very much. And don't go away, everyone. We're going to move to the lighter topics of the week. The lightning round is next.